Niziani, NBC in Baltimore and DC Film Girl. First of all, congratulations on the film. I'm still shook from the ending last night. Leo, my question's for you. You're obviously known for doing such amazing charity work with your environmental organizations. Here in the film is Dr. Mindy. He's working with similar causes, especially to help Planet Earth. We see his and Kate's clear frustrations about people not believing in science. So I'm curious how your experience in your own charity helped you prepare for Dr. Mindy. Thank you.
That's a great question.
Oh, thank you.
You know, Meryl said something yesterday which kind of hit me. She was like, look, this is an issue which the powers that be cannot ignore. The private sector can't ignore it. Everyone across the board is going to be affected by this issue. It's the most profound issue humanity has ever had to take on in the history of civilization, and it requires a complete transformation of everything that we do from top to bottom. And there's a million different ways to combat this issue. The solutions are out there. After having done a lot of different documentaries and hearing the frustration for 20 years from the scientific community, they want to be heard. I remember doing a documentary called Before the Flood, where I went to the head of NASA and he explained to me exactly what was going to happen on a world map in 5 years' time. I said, what's going to happen in California? He goes, in about 5 years' time, you're going to see massive wildfires. The trees are going to be depleted. There's going to be massive drought, and they're going to start to ignite all over the world. The fact that we have denied the scientific community up to this point is an atrocity. And we're all faced with the raw truth of what is going to happen now. And it's really about the conscious evolution of our species in order to act in time, because they have given us a 9-year window. And the ramifications of the climate crisis will become ever more clear and ever more real, and they're irreversible. That's the thing that doesn't make me optimistic. The world that we see now, all these catastrophes, they don't get better, they just get worse. So, look, as Meryl said earlier too, we're a bunch of actors, and I'm just proud to be a part of a film that's trying to recreate the narrative, that's trying to express the urgency of this in the ways that we know how. But it really has to come from the private sector. We saw that in COP. The commitments have to come from the 100 companies in the world that produce 70% of the world's emissions. It has to come from, you know, our vote, to vote for leaders who make this the #1 priority. So I'm not incredibly optimistic that we can turn this around in time, but what else can we do but hope? Ever since I saw her in Winter's Bone, her first film, I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to see her legacy and what she creates. And there's nothing that she does on screen that isn't truthful and amazing. And it was incredible. It was an incredible experience.
She's such a baby. She's still a baby. But she has such a body of work behind her that is varied and wild and funny and true and authentic every single time. And you're the beating heart of this movie. And yes, you are. And when you get together with Timothée Chalamet, I was so happy, even though it was the end of the world. So, because that's like spirit, the two spirits of the movie coming together.
I actually remember us speaking early on years ago. I said, remember, you're the Meryl Streep of your generation. Remember that? I said that to you, remember that?
I mean, I do, but I think I remember, I was just like, oh, God.
I have no qualifications beyond the two people that just said that about Jen, but I will say, as a burgeoning filmmaker and actor, there's no one I'm more ambitious to work with than Jen as an actress, because she can do anything and you still love her. And that is so fucking hard to achieve. She can tell the truth, and then you cannot not want her to win in some way, and I just think it's stunning.
When we were shooting the riot scene at like the Bubba Gump restaurant, that was January 6th. And it was very emotional, and I don't recall ever making a movie that I felt was so important and fulfilling. But yeah, and also just devastating. It just feels like you're like, you know, looking at this mountain, like how are we going to get all of us, all of humanity, like up this, you know, mountain? I hope this works.
That feels like, I mentioned Network before, it feels like that mad as hell kind of moment. My guess, just knowing what you're about and the things you care about, is like you could swap in climate change for the comet, and that speech is something you probably felt in your bones for years. Did it feel like some kind of catharsis to go through that?
Not necessarily for me, but in a weird way, like breaking the third wall. What would it be for a scientist, a climate scientist, with that level of tension that Adam created with a comet coming within a 6-month time frame, to be sitting there on a pulpit, not being listened to, not being heard? You know, I've spoken to a lot of scientists like Michael Mann who feel like everything they say is marginalized. They're not listened to. These people have devoted their lives and their intellect to these issues, and you know, they're subjugated to the last page in a newspaper. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to do the movie. I felt you know, it was a hat tip to all those people out there that are speaking the truth, and yet there are these alternative facts. We don't know how to deal with bad news. That's the amazing hat trick that Adam pulled off here with the tone of this movie.
When that speech came on, I was like, oh, here we go. Like, Leo chewing up the goddamn scenery again. And then I genuinely, like, he is one of the great artists at what he does in the world, because he can pull something like that off and have the whole movie kind of be about something. And I felt like that thing in your heart, in your stomach, where you're like, fuck, like, I really feel this shit. And like, it was like, it was beautiful, stunning to watch, even in the theater last night. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Jonah, would you
You're gonna fully spiral right now.
Yeah. Leo knows I will be calling him at 3 in the morning and going like, do you think she actually was mad at me? And like, can I give you a text I'm gonna send to her, and can you rewrite it and send it back to me about how she's the greatest of all time and not an actual goat?
If Meryl was ever mad at me, I would kill myself.
Yeah. But also should be said why she's the coolest, that she's the coolest, but she's also the GOAT, the greatest of all time, not a GOAT. So, never, bro.